Hello, everybody. Emerson in the house. I just want to say thank you guys for joining us today. I hope that you guys are having a wonderful evening. We have a great show for you. My name is Christy Ferris. I am an Emerson alumni. I will not tell you when I graduated, but we had a little bit of time in there in between now and then. I was an acting major, and I have a wonderful array of stuff under my belt as far as television and film, passion, Scrubs, all this good stuff, and monogamy. But this is a special episode because we have brought all of the generations that have actually mentored me over the years. They're all here. I wanted to bring people together from different generations so that we can all talk about our experiences at Emerson College. So the first person I'm going to bring on is Richard Keynes. He has recently completed a fantastic lead role in First Impressions, which is now on Amazon Prime. He has also starred in the short film Safe Haven. Richard was in The Town with Ben Affleck, and Richard is also an accomplished stand-up comedian who has performed numerous times at the world-famous Comedy Store in Los Angeles. So let's bring in Richard. Hey, Richard.
Hey, Christy. How you doing?
Hey, great. Thanks for joining us. All right, and Kayla Smith. Originally from Gettysburg, she now lives in Atlanta, Georgia, and she's working a virtual summer camp with the Mary Park Foundation. Her mission is to create a curriculum that is accessible to both the hearing and deaf community. She hopes to bridge the gap between these cultures by using drama and education as a tool that builds trust and encouraging risk-taking. Let me bring in Kayla. Hey.
Hello. Thank you.
I'm so excited. Yeah, absolutely. And I can't wait to talk to you because I'm directing something right now with two actors who are deaf. So I'm looking forward to chatting with you offline about that. Yeah. So Lois Roach, who is my mentor, is a writer, Emmy award-winning stage director and producer. She is currently working on 3 screenplays set in Boston. Her play Living On is under agreement with Samuel French and has been performed around the country. In 2009, Company One Theater in Boston established the Lois Roach Theater Community Award, which has been presented to individuals in recognition of outstanding commitment to the Boston theater community. Last thing is that she is a former director of public affairs for WBZ TV and radio, where she received an Emmy Award for spots written and produced about AIDS. She's a senior lecturer in the Theater Studies Department of Wellesley College. Let's bring on Lois Roach. Hi.
Hello, my people.
Yay. Thank you for joining us. And our last guest is Susan Banks. She's hailed as one of the most powerful women in cable by Cable Fox magazine. Susan A. Banks' trailblazing career as a television executive producer, screenwriter, and award-winning marketer spans both network and cable television and includes some of television's most popular, beloved, and influenced series. Most recently, Banks wrote and produced Coins for Love, a television movie for TV One, and premieres in July 2020, which is next month. And currently she's writing a sequel to the movie Coins for Forever, scheduled to air in November 2020. And I have to also say, she was an executive producer for a show that I starred in called Media. So let's bring in Susan. All right.
Hello. Good to see you all.
Yes, thank you for joining me. I'm so excited about diving in and just talking about everyone's experience from the different time periods that we were all at Emerson College. So before we get started, I just want to ask, how is everybody doing in this pandemic, dealing with watching, as Lois told me, she was like, you actually watched a murder on TV. How are you guys dealing with all of that right now? And I'll start with you, Kayla.
Just taking it day by day and figuring out. I'm, restarting my therapy journey because I think it's so important right now, and being able to just dive into the self and dive into identity and seeing what I need. Because Atlanta is a new journey for me. I don't have a strong community here, but I do realize that I have, the virtual platforms are my saving grace, which is, it's really nice being able to connect with people via Zoom, via whatever it is, and know that people are closer than I think, or that I had thought.
How about you, Lois?
Well, like I said to you this week, you have to realize and take a moment to let it sink in, everything that you've seen over these past 3 weeks. It's like once a week you've seen and witnessed someone be murdered over and over and over again. And you can't take that lightly. And there was a point in time where I said to Christy, I said, you want to stop and honor that and honor what you've seen. But at a certain point in time, you also want to stop seeing it.
Yes.
So, it's been deep.
How about you, Richard?
Well, I think it's, as a Black man, it's something that, we witnessed the murder, but it's something that as a Black man, we carry that fear to be honest, it was like the realization of seeing it happen where, people say, why do you get scared of police if you didn't do anything? And because that was a misunderstanding, and that's also the privilege they didn't understand. You didn't have to do anything. We knew that. And every time, and look, I'm the son of a police officer so I know the difference, not saying I just wasn't mad at police, but I can tell when the situation's different. And so we witnessed it, we saw that, but it wasn't new for us. It's just that people now understand what we're talking about when we say it can go like this. And so it hurts my heart. It's that, it's something where you understand it, it's out there, and there are days, that, like, Lord said, we want to stop seeing it, but it's weighing heavy. I found myself in tears at some point about it, just worrying about our young men out here, our community, and women. Not to the difference, but I think that the realization that now the rest of the world, and I say the world because this is not, in our society now, internet and everything is, most of they understand. People didn't see it and understand it. They were thinking, oh, maybe it's an exaggeration. We don't understand the fear. But now they see it and they understand it. And what was happening was getting exposed. George Floyd was the floodgate, but before we knew it, and then it was just still happening.
Right.
And so it's like that. It's finally out for discussion properly. And so it's heavy, but I'm glad it's there to be discussed. And it's about where we go from now. I mean, I saw a protest the other day in Boston on Congress Street, and 90% of them were white. And I think that's important. That needs to happen.
It's interesting because for me, I felt like all of the things that I've had to suppress that have happened to me over the years, it's all starting to come up. I'm feeling it in my body, which I never knew was there because we're so used to suppressing every single thing when people do things. Just like, oh, okay, that's just them. Oh, they're just being ignorant or whatever the case may be. But all of this stuff is starting to bring up things for me. Susan, how about you?
Well, I've been going through very much the same as everyone else. I mean, it's appalling, and repeatedly so, but we knew this. It's not like we didn't know it. So I have recently decided that I'm going to search for the positive in what will come of all of this. and continue to pray that now more eyes are open and they are really, other people other than us now know what's going on. And I'm hoping it will lead to change. You know, it cannot continue the way it is. And I think to see it happen in front of your eyes, and then a week later it happens again, you know what? Okay, that tells you all you need to know. This goes, even though they know everyone's watching, even though they know this is a hot item, even though they know people are in the streets marching worldwide, they can't control themselves. They can't control themselves. And now the whole world gets to see that. They get to see how out of control they are.
Yeah.
So I just pray that on top of COVID, on top of the pandemic, on top of the murders that we see before our eyes, and on top of the economic downfall we're in right now, you know, these three crises, there must be a point and a reason for it, and only good will have to come out of it, because we're at the bottom. Okay, there's only one way to go.
Right.
At this
Right.
point.
Have you guys been have you guys been you know, affected by the COVID as far as like working? Because I know a majority of us are in the entertainment industry to some way, shape, or form. Have you guys been affected by that? We'll start with Richard.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it's the things that you take for granted on, you know, doing, you know, saying, I want to do this project here, or, you know, like, for example, when, you know, we had a couple projects actually with some Emerson alumni that we were shooting out in California, and we had done the trailer, we had, you know, so we got the budget to actually shoot. It was a mini series. We got everything to go, and it shut down. And meaning that, like, with no understanding of when it can come back. And that's really the thing that happens a lot of, when you'll be able to, it's hard to kind of say, we don't know, you know, so you're in that pause, but, you know, is there a career to be had anymore? You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not saying that, but, you know, it's in the entertainment field, so you're like, oh, when's that next? You know, we're always kind of, but I mean, that thing of like, it's that pause, and it's a hard pause of when it's going to be. And then you're, you know, what do? You know, you try to find the outlets, you try to find things that, you know, but I think what it has been is that hard pause on things. I'm not sure when anything will come.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm supposed to be shooting one of these. We were supposed to be shooting another season, and everything is on pause. And then it was like, do we have to rewrite everything? You know, because we can't, all of it is very intimate. So now we can't be intimate. So do they rewrite the whole entire script? Or do we keep, you know, or do we wait to see if this whole COVID thing, you know, ends? How about you, Kayla? How has it been for you as far as work and everything?
So I'm just now re-entering the education sector, and for me, I've never worked at a virtual summer camp. I've never even heard of a virtual summer camp, and so it's an interesting shift, and there's a lot of hesitation going into it, but it's one of the most rewarding things because we all are inside. So the campers are excited, the counselors are excited, the community is excited to at least be able to support something, because I mean, education is something that's not going anywhere, but it's changing rapidly. It's changing every day into what will make sense, what is safe, when we're prioritizing our students and our communities over profitability. So we're just, right now, I'm trying to figure out what that will look like in Georgia. Things look a little different than they do in the rest of the world. I think that students will be going back in August, where, that's a strong debate. Is that safe? And what students go back, and do all students go back? I'm just trying to figure that out, because I mean, we're getting summer's almost over.
Yeah, right. So do me a favor, everyone. If you can, just put yourself on mute when you're not talking, because now we're starting to get a little bit of an echo. So I just want to make sure that we can hear everybody. And for those of you who are just joining in, we have Emerson alumni from, we have Susan Banks, Lois Roach, Kayla Smith, Richard Keynes, myself, Christy Ferris, and we're just talking about what's happening now, how we feel now, and then we'll discuss our future. Susan, how about you jump in and let us know how things are affecting you, if they are, and if they're not. And don't forget to take yourself off of mute.
Okay, there you go. I'm sorry, the question again?
The question is that's okay. Is the pandemic affecting you in any way, as far as like work, the entertainment business, all of that kind of thing?
Well, yeah. We had a film we were supposed to be shooting, I think last month or so, that, I have no idea when it's going to happen now. So just the waiting game. As you were saying, Christy, it's all very interesting about how production is going to start up again, and in what way and how safe and what are the safety precautions. And I know that there's been some discussion about, quarantining everyone from crew and cast for 2 weeks prior to shooting, and the testing and all of that, so that you can still have the relationships on screen, because otherwise, what are you doing? And if the film is going to be around forever, who wants to look back at a film where people are standing 6 feet apart and wearing masks? I mean, that's not going to work. So the only way I guess you can do it is to make sure everybody, limit the number of people on the set at the time, make sure everybody stays quarantined. I mean, it's going to be really a whole new world. And I don't think we can wait for a vaccine. You don't know when that's going to come. So we've got to find a way to get back.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And for me, I'm doing a web series that I'm directing and acting in, and everybody's doing it from their own home.
That's perfect.
And we're actually directing from home with with somebody else being the cameraman, like somebody's husband or boyfriend or girlfriend. So that's how we learned how to be creative in this situation. Lois, how about you?
It's been interesting because my main thing is I'm a teacher. And I was supposed to be teaching an intro to directing class, which means you need to move the actors around and you need to be able to fuss at them and do some blocking. And we had literally, the students were told on a Thursday that they had to be off campus the following Tuesday. So not only were they trying to figure out how to pack up their dorms, and imagine if you're a senior. So as a senior, it's like, all right, run around, hug everybody in the lunchroom, and you really can't be hugging everybody, and then get on a plane and get home. And for me, it was, how do you teach directing online? How do you teach the blocking and the movement and the rhythm and the online? And I'm proud of my students because they figured it out way before I did. There was a certain point in time where one of my students, I was trying to, how you share the screen, and I was trying to share the screen and trying to show something on PowerPoint. And one of the students said to me, "Professor, we got this." And I was like, you know what? Y'all got this. I got this. I'm not gonna lie. When I was done with that class, I left the message. I left the meeting, poured myself some wine, and I did cry a little bit. But with that, they informed me that they had it, and their work was amazing.
So let me ask you guys your experience, your Emerson experience. What was the biggest impact that you had at Emerson, whether it be good or bad, or both? I'll start with you, Susan.
Oh gosh, I knew you were going to do that. The biggest impact. I think one of the biggest impacts I had at Emerson was a awakening of sorts in terms of who I am as a Black woman in the world. I had to confront my creative spirit and my creative energy, and I had to nurture it and find it. And the best impact on me was that Emerson allowed me to do that. You know, Emerson didn't allow it. I would say it was more like the Black organization, Ebony. Ebony kind of allowed it because we were, in the years that I was there, we won't talk about the decade, but the years that I was there, we were kind of a tight-knit group. You know, I mean, we had issues, of course, but, you know, we had a choir. We all would take turns putting on plays, and, you know, we got together and did things like that allowed you to direct, allowed you to act, allowed you to, you know, get behind the scenes, allowed you to do things in the studio, such as it was. It's nothing like it is now. But you got a chance to try things and experience things. And I think that was positive and a good impact on me. I wish we had what they have now, man. Those kids, they got to come out of there ready to roll, you know. But it broadened my perspective, which I think is what college is supposed to do.
Yeah, because you guys had like a dorm. You guys had all of that. We had nothing when I came.
I didn't live in 206, but it was a home base for the Black students on campus. You know, it was mostly the upperclassmen lived there because they were there and they were the ones who had, you know, established it and everything. And when I came, they didn't have enough room for me to come there to live in 206. But all the parties were there and all the meetings and all the good stuff and all the cool people. There were a lot of cool people who lived there too.
Right.
And I absolutely, you know, looked up to and admired. So, I mean, I think that was important. And,
how about, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, how about what?
I was going to say, Richard, what was your experience? And then Susan, don't forget to put yourself on mute.
You know, Emerson. Well, you know, it's ironic. Actually, you were one of the first people I met. I remember we had actually a long conversation in the cafeteria, right on a little building. And I came in, and you were like, "Yeah, let's talk for a minute." Blah 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 blah. You broke down a lot of stuff, and it was interesting because, you know, I was like, all right, just soaking it all in. And it was interesting where it was like, wow, okay, you know, like now, you know, like say I'm hip because now it was like I was hit with so many things that would have hit me hard, you know. I didn't. I just say because Emerson at like, you know, Ebony is important because, you know, in the theater program, we talked a little bit about this the other day. I think I was one of 3 Black men for each year, you know, at Emerson. So like Balele Shoko was you know, ahead of me. Kevin Squalls was under me in years, but it was one each year. No, but the only reason I'm saying that is that so we had to go there to get everything, you know, to meet everybody to see what was going on. And I remember, you know, one of the great experiences I had. Tori, who had directed, is a wonderful writer and director. She directed To Be Young, Gifted, and Black, and I had I was on to play one of the, you know, the leads, and it was fantastic. And to go and experience that, having come from, I went to private schools all my life, so I was one of 3 Black people all the time. But so to go to Emerson and but I was able to get to Ebony and get that experience, and then to be able to do shows like that and have these discussions afterwards was amazing. And then one of the other things was the LA program, where I ran into you again. And it was wonderful because I went out there, I was 20, you know, and when you're able to go somewhere at that age and pick up, and, you know, I was too young to know how worried I should have been about moving across country and not knowing anything or anybody and just making a move, you know, but which proved to be great. because of course when you're acting and stuff, look, it's been New York, New Orleans, Toronto, wherever, and even other jobs I've done, Baltimore, Pennsylvania, but it's never been a problem because when I moved when I was young, and that kind of put me on the path as an artist to be like, well, you might have to be here and make it work. So I credit Emerson with that because it taught us how to also to know that, you can reach out and find people. Like I said, I was out in LA and I was like, oh, Christy, what's happening? And you were like, yeah, what's going on? And then it's like, it didn't feel so large anymore,
Right.
So I think it's yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting, Kayla, and I'll jump to you next, but it's interesting because, we were there at the same time, although I was 2 years older than you. And my experience was, that's how I met Lois. I literally had an experience where some racial stuff went down and I was like, I'm leaving Emerson College. So, and somebody told me to contact Lois, and I did. And she was like, no, this is what you're going to do. And she's like, you're going to do this and you're going to do your own stuff and you're going to do this. And I remember thinking, oh, okay, because I was so used to being in a place where, everybody gave stuff to me. And I think she put me on the path of learning how to do things on my own and not waiting for other people. And that was really important. But I had so many things. Like I remember, and I never could understand because they put me in a black role, a male black role, Aborigine, because we really had no black men. But the whole time I was thinking, but we got Richard. Why are you guys putting me in this role? And I really took myself, like, I lied to myself. I was like, the only reason why they're putting me in this role is because I'm the best person to do this role. And then the teacher actually pulled me aside and apologized and said, I'm really sorry for doing this to you. And he told me how the whole process went, how they were just like, yeah, so which black person do you want? It became about that. And
Wow.
And it was such a blow to me that that it just kind of like, I just was dumbfounded. But from that moment, I told them I was never coming back, and I was doing the LA program, and I did it for 2 semesters when you're only supposed to do 1. And I told them they're gonna help me, make me stay, like help me so that I could stay in LA. And then I booked 7 shows in 6 months after that, and I became very successful. And so Emerson prepped me for that with all of those little things that happened to me. It prepped me to be able to be independent and to like brush that stuff off when those things happen to me, brush it off and keep moving, especially when it comes to my race. And then of course I met Susan and all that kind of stuff afterwards, and everybody was just so wonderful. Kayla, let me jump to you because you're our newest graduate. So tell me, how Emerson impacted your life, whether it be good or bad or both.
Right. So I know that when I started Emerson, it quickly realized that it was exactly what I needed when I needed it. And the biggest impact on me was Flawless Brown. And when I was at Emerson, it was a sisterhood for women of color. And the goal was to create socially conscious art through theater, through visual media, through writing. And through the sisterhood, I was able to do new projects that I would have never done before. I was able to meet my best friends that I have right now, people that I check in with daily, people that I didn't have a chance to meet when I was in high school. And I know that that was my stepping stone, that I was supposed to be there and that I was supposed to meet these women. And I know that even though I was unsure of what I wanted to study at Emerson. I was unsure of what I wanted to do. I remember visiting and being like, yep, I need to be there. I'm going to be there. And I can't afford it. I wasn't able to afford it. I wasn't able to know how I was even going to make it to the next year. But something in me told me, yeah, you need to be there. And then I started quickly realizing is that money is so replaceable. And that you will figure that out as well. And my next experience that came to me was traveling and studying abroad and the people that I met while doing those programs, whether they were within my major or outside of it. And that became such a beautiful experience. I never knew I had an interest in travel. I never knew I had an interest in American Sign Language. But because I went to Emerson and because there were so many options and people being like, yeah, I really believe in you, or I really think that you'd be a great fit for this, or how about you just try this? I was able to kind of nurture these talents or nourish these, creative paths that maybe, I put a stone down before, but now I have a path. And I credit Emerson to that just because it was so special to me.
Oh, it's so wonderful. Okay, Lois, how about you? You got a fan base up in here. That's our powerful sister, Lois. You are truly blessed to have her as a mentor. Yes, I am, I have to say. So, Lois, what was your experience?
Robin is one of my gifts from Emerson College. I have a group of sisters, and since we knew we were not going to be able to pledge any other sorority because of how we were raised and where we came from, there was no way anybody was ever going to tell us what we were supposed to do and not do. So we call ourselves to this day Eboni Alpha Psi, and those are my sisters. Out of Eboni Alpha Psi, I have two beautiful godchildren. And the one thing that Emerson gave me in addition to my sisters was that no is the gift to yes. And I tell my students all the time that no is your gift, so you can figure out how to get to yes. And every time Emerson College, and I told this to Christy when I first met her, anytime Emerson College told me no, I found my way around it. So, and I see Kayla smiling and Richard, I see everybody smiling. So when they told us that there were no shows for the Black Theater Studies majors, we got together and somehow, even though I was a mass communications major, I began directing. So I became a theater director because of Emerson College. And I became a television person and manager because of Emerson College. And I became a negotiator because they tried to take the Cultural Center one year when we were on Eboni Alpha Psi reporting. We were on winter break. But see, what we had learned was we were friends with all of the staff who worked there. So while we were on winter break and they tried to get rid of the Cultural Center, which I guess was the replacement for Dorm 206 that we didn't know about. So we found out, and those of us who lived in Boston, all of a sudden, we called each other. We didn't have cell phones back then, folks. So we called each other and showed up and stood in front of 96 Beacon Street and informed them that they would not be taking the Cultural Center on our watch. So that's what Emerson College taught me. And what Emerson taught me is what I have in turn taught others.
I take on that. I have to admit, that's exactly what she did for me. I remember having a little protest. I had a petition. I was like, we need to have diversity and teach sensitivity to the kids and the students. And I mean, I did all kind of stuff. So I was definitely that girl.
One thing, though, Christy, that still blows me away is that Emerson College has a Black male president.
Mm.
And when I think of every single meet, there was a point in time I was sitting in so many meetings, I was like, y'all need to start paying me. Because I was on this committee for that and that committee to bring professors in on doing that. I mean, it was ridiculous. Mm-hmm. So I say all this to say that life does have its ebb and flow. Mm-hmm. And so while we may have been there for some of the most difficult times, we learned, and we must also stop and acknowledge where things have shifted and changed.
Mm-hmm. Listen, the one great thing about Emerson that I love is the alumni community that they have created, especially in LA with the Emerson Mafia. I've met so many more people after I've graduated who are Emerson alumni than I did when I was there, meaning like mingling with Emersonians. So let me ask you, since you have graduated, you know, you hear about these colleges that, you know, all these schools that reach out, even Emersonians that reach out to each other to help each other. Has anybody ever reached out to you to help you who was an Emerson, alumni that was not in your circle? That was not in your circle. Let's start with you, Susan. Oh, go ahead and take yourself off mute. We might be able to take everybody off mute. I'll let you guys know. So you guys can all take yourself off mute, I think. Go ahead.
The answer is no. When I moved to LA, I didn't know anyone. I knew maybe one or two people. I had one friend from Emerson who lived there, and you know, and that was it. And I didn't know the Mafia. I knew of them, but I didn't know them, and I had no connection to them. They didn't seek me out, and I didn't seek them out. I love that now when Emersonians graduate, they have a home base there and people and connections. And I think that would have helped me tremendously had I had that opportunity. But no, I had to struggle on my own. And it wasn't until many, many years later that I even found the people who were there that I knew. You know, I ran into Steve Ferrier one day on the street. It was like, oh, hey, you know, it was that kind of a thing. But no, I really didn't have any help at all. So I'm so happy that, you know, the students coming up today have that.
How about you, Lois? How about you, Lois?
I had Christy Ferris. Christy, about 2 years ago now, Christy read one of my screenplays and informed me we needed to do something about this. So next thing I know, she reached out to Steve. And then I see Nancy Isaac popped up in here a little bit. And then she reached out to Leslie Marias and Leslie Marias Davis. And next thing I know, I'm sitting at Emerson College. And I said, do they know that they let me back in the building? But I'm sitting at Emerson, LA, with amazing actors for a reading of one of my screenplays produced by Christy Ferris, who I met when she was, maybe a junior? Or were you even a sophomore?
No, I was 19. I was a sophomore.
So you were a sophomore.
I think I was really fresh. I think I was a freshman, but yeah.
So here comes the freshman, now actor, writer, producer, director, telling me where I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to be doing, and producing a reading of one of my screenplays. That plus the mere fact that my upperclassmen were the ones, Leslie, Steve, Nancy, they were the ones who said, yeah, we're going to do this. You know?
Yeah. No, it's interesting because Susan, I was in Susan's movie that she was like, you got the role. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then Lois directed my one woman show. So that's, you know, one of the things. But let's jump over to you, Kayla. Has anybody reached out to you to help you from Emerson College other than the people in your circle?
Right. Other than my circle, I would probably say no. I'm usually the first to figure out what they can give me, you know, even though I know that there's a lot of resources. I know that I scammed them out a lot of money when I was there, thinking, what else can you guys give me, right? So I reached out to Alumni Association now because I believe, and I'll put this out into the universe now, that Atlanta can be a great hub, just like New York, just like Los Angeles. And I'm sitting here wondering where the young alumni are. I'm sitting wondering where the alumni in general are, and what everyone's doing. So I'm working on that. But right now it's, there's not a lot of outreach, I don't think.
Okay. How about you, Richard?
It's interesting. I would say it's similar. Although I've had interesting experience with it, because I found, Christy, when I first came out there, I think you actually brought me to one of my first auditions. I think it was for like a Green Mountain Coffee thing.
Oh, wow.
It was like, but that was a big deal because you thought about me, you know what I mean? And so and that was important. But outside of that, like it's outside, I think a couple people reached out here and there. Like when you run into people or certain things happen, I actually had a couple auditions from some people who became casting directors. But actually, I was going to say, interestingly enough, I've had people who were, for example, the movie Safe Haven was a film directed from an Emerson alumni who had graduated after me, but heard about me and asked me to come in and read. And then from that, actually, he ended up being one of the ADs on The Town, and he told Ben Affleck to see it. So that was so that was a way to go in them there. And so it's kind of interesting. It's been random in some ways, but it's almost like, when it's that thing of like, you kind of know the quality of what you're dealing with. I've kind of felt that some people, you feel that way when you say, oh, you went so-and-so, so-and-so, I'll call you in, but it hasn't been, to be quite frank, it's not what I thought it would be. I thought when you think you graduate and everybody's going here and spreading out, and you're so-and-so's there, and you see someone, you're like, oh, so-and-so's in here, and, you reach out and think something's going to happen. It doesn't. And I'm not saying, negative or positive on it. It's just that it's interesting. I think that.
So, and the reason why I brought it up is, as we're dealing with the current climate, we know, especially when we graduated, I know Susan and Lois, when you guys graduated, I think you had a bigger pool, but I was the only Black girl. We had one Black girl in each year. And when you came in, Richard, before you came in, and you came in when I was a junior, we had no Black men. So
really,
right, none, no Black men in the acting program, and I was the only one in my class. So my point, and the reason why I'm bringing this up, is because with the current climate and being honest, like, Emerson is predominantly white, and there's this big thing where everybody talks about this Emerson mafia, but has anybody really helped you or reached out to you? Do they even know that we exist? And that was the main reason why I wanted to do this show, because I'm like, we have a Susan Banks on here. We have a Lois Roach. I mean, these women are smoking. We got a Kayla Smith in here, Richard Keynes. We got a Christy Ferris. Like, we some bad MFs up in here. But people need to know who we are. And I just don't think that they're seeking us out, maybe because they don't know. But now everybody's asking and calling me. I don't know if you guys are getting messages, but everybody white is calling me and saying, hey, oh my God, what can I do? And I'm like, well, you know what? You guys need to hire us. Right. Hire us. So know that we exist. Don't hire me if I'm not right for the role. If I'm not right for the job, because I don't want to get in a position and I can't live up to the expectation. No. But at least give me an opportunity. And so that's the reason why I brought up this question, because I'm hoping that if there's some Emersonians that are out there that have the pull, look at us, see us, so that they can help us and hire us. So, and as far as my situation, I've had it both ways. Like, I've gone to a couple of auditions. I've had a couple of auditions where they were Emersonians and they were like, oh my God, you're Emersonian, and they brought me in. So I've had a couple of those over the years. Now, it wasn't anybody who knew, like they weren't a part of the whole alumni thing. But then I also had some alumni that kind of sort of tried to help me. They were like, hey, call this person, let them know that I know you. Now, they didn't call on my behalf. Well, they didn't call on my behalf. They didn't do an introduction or anything. So now when I call these people, they're like, why are you calling me? And then, of course, they apologize later, not the person I called, but the alumni, person kind of apologized later. But it was still kind of that, like, I'm asking for help. I'm not even asking for like a special hookup. I'm just asking for a little help.
Yeah.
And they're kind of doing it, but they kind of didn't. And that's the reason why I bring that up. Now, did I get to everybody? Did I ask that question? Okay, great. So now let me ask you, go ahead. Yes.
I was going to say something interesting because I was going to say that, I mean, there are people like that in my circle that we work with and we continue. Like First Impressions was Eric Shapiro and Rhoda Jordan, who we graduated with, writing, director, acting, wonderful people. And so we kind of said the same thing. No one's calling us, let's call each other and let's make it happen. And we've been able to keep it going. Now, interestingly enough, I have fraternity brothers, and Belaley and I were talking about this, who are majorly directors, producers, and nothing. And it's surprising because it's like, wow, they'll reach out and say happy birthday or something on Facebook, right? Or something like that. And it's like, well, but I just want to bring the key that you said. We're not asking for a hookup. We're not asking for that. It's that we're talented. Where we come from. The level of that that we have. Hey, listen, you can also look online and see stuff, quite frankly, right? You can look us up, you can see our work. So this isn't asking for a hookup. It's the fact of, me, my talent, what I bring to the table. Bring me in. I want to, what I mean? And so I wanted to get to that point. Sorry, yeah.
Yes,
so,
go ahead, Lois.
Yeah.
Well, I'm ready to jump in here because this is the one beast that I don't and I call it the beast for a reason, because it's all I've ever done. I've either worked backstage or I've worked events. I've always been in the beast. This is the one business that is afraid to make money, because our stories, our ideas, our backgrounds, the people we represent, they're part of a business that should be making money. So by not hiring us and by not allowing us to tell our stories, I think they're foolish, because I think there's an audience for everything that we do. And I look at something like Hidden Figures. When everything started kicking off, I went and rewatched Hidden Figures because I needed to see the sisters run through the bathroom. I needed to see that movie again, and I was all upset. It took me 4 hours to watch the thing. But Hidden Figures, they made for $25 million, and Christy knows I always do the math.
Yes, she
They made for $25 million, and the movie was made for $25 million. It made $265 million. So if I'm watching it 2 or 3 times and I'm assigning it in class, why are you afraid to make that money? That's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
When you watch Black Panther, how many $1 billion did I used to know that number by heart.
Right.
How much money did Black Panther make? Oh my God, it was amazing, they say. Yeah, really? We sold Black Panther before Black Panther was even out of the editing room.
Right.
That's how we work.
That's true.
So that's why I say, and I get frustrated because I've never seen a business that doesn't like to make money and that cuts out an entire group because of the stories they have and the history that they have. How many Juneteenth movies should we have by now? Okay, I'll stop.
Black Wall Street.
Black Wall Street.
Thank you.
And now, you got Susan that's over here just killing it with all of the stuff that she writes and produces. And, there's no reason why some of these other Emerson alumni are not hooking up with you to get this stuff going. Lois has got, 3 scripts ready to go about Boston. You know what I mean? That's telling a story. That's telling an interracial story as on top of that in Boston.
And guess what? Boston isn't just parking the car.
Thank you.
Boston isn't, I love me some Ben and Casey, and I've worked with Casey too.
Uh-huh.
Okua, yes, $650 million.
$50 billion. Go ahead on, Akua.
Yes. Hey, Akua. And then on top of it, Boston is where Martin Luther King met Coretta. You know what I'm saying? Boston is where the first anti-apartheid movement began because Harvard University divested. There's so many other stories here besides Whitey Bulger killing people.
Yeah, that's, and Lois, I bring up when I did The Town. It's funny, they ended up cutting me down to a smaller part. I was the only Black person in the film.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And let me just say, Doug said, glad to see the Black Ebony crew. We can't expect the folks that don't want us in the business to go out of their way to bring us along. We have to do it for ourselves. Glad to see this happening. And I totally agree. But here's my thing.
Since we were at Emerson, Doug. We've been doing it since we were there.
But things have changed, and I'm putting it out there. There are 5 people on this call right now that y'all can hire, and we all know what we're doing. So I just want to say that we all know what we're doing. We came from Emerson College, so we learned. We know what's happening.
And can I say one thing? My grandmother taught me, and this is funny when you.
And Kayla, I'm gonna let you jump in a second.
I came home and I said, my grandmother. I said to my grandmother, she said, "What's wrong?" I said, "There's no parts. There's nothing for me to do." I was, they were, all the friends, watch them all make these films, and I go read and nothing because there wasn't anything for me. And she said something interesting to me. She said, "If you don't vote, you don't have a say." And I said, "What does that mean?" She said, "What have you written?" I said, I wrote something here and there. She said, "Well, you need to think about that." So from that point, and it's why I've worked with the young kids doing workshops, writing, producing. And I told them, I said, you have to put something into that. And that taught me something from there. So we have to produce. We don't, and I'm just saying that that's what I'm sure everyone right here, and this is what Emerson taught me, where it's like, it taught me how to do everything if I need to do it. And that, I just wanted to put that out there because that changed my whole life when she told me that.
Kayla, you are the youngest of the group here. I know that you don't know anybody on this call. I obviously know everybody here, but again, I'm seeing, which I did not realize how much of an influence that I had on Richard. It almost makes me want to cry because Lois had such an impact on me, and then Susan became a part of my life. How are you feeling at this moment, seeing all of these alumni that came before you and hearing this conversation?
Oh, every time I get together, I love the conversation. Me being in LA, being able to go over to Steve's house and he cooks us all fried chicken and we all go over there and we all eat, you know what I mean? That is the best part because I know the power of the alumni of Ebony, especially in LA, and that it's so special. You don't get to spend a lot of time there, but I get to see Nancy. We get to all be together, the younger alumni, people that are, closer in my year that live out there. We all go over there. He always wants to meet people. And for me, that's special because I know how strong the community is. And I know what we would do for each other just if we ask, right? Even if we don't ask. And there's people within my circle there that'll just, check in. Steve that'll check in, be like, "Hey, I haven't seen you in a while, haven't talked to you in a year. What are you doing?" But I love that. And that was the community that I was searching for, is a community that I didn't have growing up, that I even see with my students, because I taught at Boston Arts Academy for a few years before leaving. And they taught me so much about community, so much about what it means to ride or die for the people that are around you and to be vulnerable in those spaces. And I mean, it's irreplaceable.
I absolutely love the Ebony LA group. Nancy and Stephen and Marlene, they all have Leslie. Just been and Leslie, they have all been so wonderful and so open and welcoming to our young alumni. I mean, they've made a home for them. I wish I'd have had a Stephen Ferrier to go visit when I moved to LA. I was really on my own. You know, so it is just so wonderful to see the work they've done there and that they continue to do. It's
So
wonderful. Shout out.
So let me just say, oh yeah, Stephen's fried chicken, y'all. Let me tell you. Let me tell you all his food.
For us.
Okay, so well, we're gonna be wrapping it up soon. Let me just flip the script and put a little responsibility on us. Some of you kind of mentioned it a little bit, but so not everybody has to answer this. But have you reached out to people who were outside of your circle? And most of our circles are probably in the Eboni alumni, place. But have you reached out to the other alumni that are non-people of color?
Oh.
Anybody? And the reason why I bring this up is because it's not just their responsibility, but it's also ours. I think sometimes we don't use our resources for whatever reasons, or maybe we have and we've been shut down, or maybe we were afraid to, or maybe we just don't know who they are. And I mean, the Emerson Mafia, I was just telling somebody about that recently, that it's there. And a lot of people, you type in there and somebody will respond. And I actually got 2 responses. I was like, hey, I need to sell my Black people shit, which is a platform or TV show. And 2 people reached out to me. One person was white, one person was Black. And Brian is such a great person, but that's a whole nother thing. So have you guys reached out to seek help in your career?
I do.
You do?
And I do often, only because I think that we don't stress how hard post-grad is. And I don't think that we stress how hard it is to be a 20-something. And especially as a creative, I read something about having your hand in a lot of pots just turns you into a directionless adult, right? Where you have a lot of interests and things that you love to do. And I felt that at Emerson, where I'm doing all these different things that I love. And then you leave school and people go, pick something. Or you have a degree and they go, why aren't you teaching? What? And you're trying to figure out what you want to pick and where you want to start, and figuring out the things that you dislike just as much as the ones that you like and enjoy. And for that, I feel like I'm constantly reaching out to alumni here or the Emerson Mafia and seeing where to start. And that seems to help, although, again, it's still just figuring out those things. I have no clue. I'm still figuring it out.
Right. How about you, Richard?
Honestly, I don't think I have. I don't think I should say I have. I don't think I've utilized it enough. And I think it's because it came from kind of I do think it came from kind of things never kind of materialized. So I kind of just felt, I gotta make these moves myself. Like I said, I have the crew, and I want to shout out Rhoda Jordan and Eric Shapiro, and the reason I say that is because anytime any rumbling happens, I get a call from them for anything, no matter what. But I really haven't, only because it's like you don't. I think what happened was I didn't want to look like I needed a hookup, and after a while, you felt like that because I wasn't getting anything back. So I said, I don't want to make it look like I need something. It's just you're saying, Denzel's the quote of a good actor is nothing without a great opportunity. And it's like, we all need that opportunity. And I was, what we're talking about now is opportunity to show the gifts and talents, right? But it was starting to feel like I'm looking for a hookup because that's what I felt I was getting treated like. So I haven't. I kind of left it alone. And I'm not saying I should do that, and I'm not advocating that at all. I just think that that's where kind of I am with it.
Right. How about you, Lois?
Reaching out to folks. I think when I first came out of school and I was working at WBZ, there was a lot more interaction with people because I had a dual major. I was mass communication and speech. I wasn't a theater major, but I lived in the theater world. So because I was mass communication, there were a lot of people that were in the TV, broadcast journalism, side of things. So it was a different animal. I think since I've been doing more of the writing and doing the screenplay connections, it's been a little bit more challenging. Mm-hmm. Because you are nothing until you are something in this beast. And so it's almost like starting out again. And there's some very interesting folks in the beast. So yeah, I see you laughing at me, Richard, but yeah. And there's a lot of fascinating scripts. I mean, both Christy and Richard, you guys both know Thomas Grimes's work. I mean, talk about visual and ready to be seen and shown and hire people, you know. And if you look, I'll wrap it up. But every screenplay is a business. Mm-hmm. So if I've got 3, that means I've got 3 businesses ready to hire people. Mm-hmm. So we just have to figure it out. It will happen.
Sorry, the screen kind of cut out. Susan, for you?
Well, yeah, I mean, over the years, there have been moments, where paths have crossed, and I've reached out to, get help in different areas or to help in different areas. I mean, I've been called upon by a variety of people to help, to help them find things or look for a job or connect them to someone who knows someone and that kind of a thing. So I've done a lot of that over the years, but not on the level where I'm personally, getting something for me for some reason. I seem to be really bad at that part. So I don't seem to connect on that level, with the other Emersonians. But I have connected and talked and been involved in a few other things on the outside, with the other members of the school, but not to the extent that I feel like I'm a part of the mafia or anything like that.
Right. So for me, and again, we'll be wrapping this up soon, everybody. We're a little bit over. We're like 2 minutes over. For me, I think because of my experience at Emerson, of not feeling a part of, because of not, being the only Black person in the performing arts and them not really doing anything for me, or putting me in a role because I was Black, or putting me in the role because they had no Black men, or people writing stuff on the walls, or, nigga and bitch on the walls and all those little things. And I'm not trying to go to the negative, but because of those experiences that I had my freshman, junior, all those years, it caused me to, put the wall up and not seek out the friendships that I could have had that could have been absolutely phenomenal, like wonderful, that I didn't really experience until after I left Emerson and started meeting the alumni later, who were actually there when I was there. I remember talking to Paul and an Emerson alumni, and he was like, well, I had no clue that you were going through that the whole time. And I told him, well, I feel bad because I could have reached out to you and we could have been friends. But because of all the stuff that happened, I closed myself off. So I'm also at fault to a certain degree of being afraid to reach out because I didn't feel like I was a part of the crew. So my thing is I'm hoping that is happening in the world and, bringing everything to a close. I'm hoping that the communication between the two worlds of Emerson College, that we come together and that we can all help each other. Because just like Lois said, there is money on the table. And if they seek out what we have to offer, they're going to make money just as much as we're going to make money. So go ahead. No,
I was just going to say, you go ahead, finish.
No. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that, when I was at Emerson, there were two worlds. What you're saying is true. I lived in the Eboni world. I didn't really have those connections with the other side. After I graduated, I really didn't keep in touch with a lot of people that I knew there from classes and things like that. But when I came to California and I interviewed at CBS television, I went into the HR department and they said, "Oh, you should be in on-air promo department. They have a lot of Emerson students down there. I mean, graduates down there." And I said, "Really?" I went down there. There were 5 people from Emerson in that department. I didn't know any of them. I didn't know any of them, but we became really, really, really great friends, really close friends. They were great people, but what a shame I didn't even know them at the time.
No, I agree. So Marlene says, wonderful, insightful, and honest conversation. Thank you, Eboni Alumni Association. Thanks for hosting, Christy. So we are going to wrap this up. I want to say thank you, everyone, for joining and coming into this conversation. I hope you guys gained something. Hope you guys learned something about us, about our experiences, what we do, and hopefully we all get a chance to work together. Let's see. Doug said we should assume we are not a part of the mafia. We have to support each other and make it happen. And if we can use them to get what we want, then do it. Yes, I agree, but I also think that
Doug hasn't changed a bit. Love you, Doug.
That the mafia does exist, and the younger generation uses it way more than the older generation, and so, which is including myself, because I'm not on there all the time. And so we need to also reach out and let them know that we exist. Is there anything closing out? Is there anything anybody else would like to say before we close out? Kayla, I'll start with you.
No, I just want to thank everyone. It's really a pleasure to be able to meet people that I haven't been able to see. I believe that we are part of the mafia, as much as maybe they don't want us to be. That doesn't matter. I mean, that's not their decision to make, I think, as well. So I am excited to further conversations and, see where this will take us, because we have the power to, sorry, I'm hearing myself. We have the power.
Just everybody put themselves on mute for a second.
Okay. Yeah, that's better. Sorry, I was just hearing myself on the other side.
No, yeah,
but I was just saying that we have the talent and the power here within to do whatever we want, right? That we can create any project and it can be as successful as anything else, because we are Emerson alumni. So I believe that. I am hopeful.
And Richard?
I think that, I think this is great. By the way, that the first step is always the communication and the conversation. And even here that, we say, and I'm like, I haven't reached out as much at all. And I'm saying even to, like Christy, we hadn't talked in, years. Lois, same thing here. And Kayla, I've got a chance to meet you as well as Susan. But, so it's like, we have, like you said, our responsibility is to go out as well. And I think this is wonderful because it's allowed me to also see more wonderful people out there that I haven't yet to reach out to. And even if it's just a hub, as we all know as artists, to just get your thoughts and art out there to see what can be done with it. And, and anything from like, this is fantastic. So I want to say the appreciation there. And, maybe it is time to kind of not allow ourselves to fold in, like, your experience, Chris, you talked about. And I think, I've had a similar scenario, and I know we all talked about it. We folded in ourselves, so we kind of got to unfold and open up. It's just as important as us to bloom and show people what we can do as much as we're asking them to see us.
Agree. I totally agree. Lois?
I'm going to say thank you for pulling us all together. I have not seen Mr. Richard Keynes in a very long time, and it does my heart well. And it's very nice to meet you, Kayla, and Susan. Oh my goodness, You are history, my sister. So it's very nice to share a screen with you. Christy, I just think, you are amazing. And I will continue to fuss at you on a regular basis, and we'll make it happen. We will make it happen, because we work too hard. And I think that's the thing. And the one thing I say to my students, are you ready when the door or the window of opportunity opens? Are you ready? And that's what I say.
All right. And then Susan, bring us on home.
Okay, here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say, we're the Black Mafia. This Eboni group, we are our own mafia. And I love that we are all coming together. I love what they're doing with Eboni in LA, and bringing in the youth, and bringing in what you've done, Christy, and bringing in all the different decades of Emerson alumni from Eboni. We need to be our own mafia. Okay, they need to be coming to us, because the product that we have to bring and the stories that we have to tell are the stories that everybody's going to want to have a hand in. Everybody's going to want to have a part of it. Everybody's going to want to be, in the know and a part of it. And who knows better than we do? Okay, we are the ones who are trained in this industry. We're trained in this business, and we know our stories. We're the best ones to come to. So let's get together, y'all. Let's get the band together and be the mafia. Be our own.
I love it.
Mafia.
One band, one sound.
Do that.
There you
Amen.
go.
And Kayla, I have to say one thing to Kayla. They told you to pick one. One of my professors at Emerson told me to pick one, and I'm still trying to figure out which one to pick. So me, you, and Christy are going to Zoom at some other point so we can figure out how many things you do, because everything you do is part of you and is part of your career. And I got 5 different jobs, so it's all good. We'll figure it out.
I'm ready to work on all 5.
We all work all 5.
All right. So
let's do it.
So again, I want to say thank you to Kayla Smith, who teaches deaf students theater and getting them all together and ready for this wonderful, crazy world. Richard Keynes, who is an actor and a comedian who has some movies right now on Amazon Prime. Lois Roach, who is not only a teacher, but a director, she's an Emmy Award winner, and she is a screenwriter. And then we have Miss Susan, who is a producer. She directs. She is a writer. She's got stuff that's about to air right now. And then myself, I have a couple of shows that are on Amazon Prime right now. Goliath season 3 that's on with, I can't even remember his name right now because we're not talking about him. But anyway, I have Craig Ross Jr.'s Monogamy. So there's a lot of different things. Again, everybody, we thank you. Oh, wait a minute. Is this who came up with it? Wait, who said this? We know our craft.
That is my sister, Eboni out the side reporting.
I love it.
That is Gloria Johnson.
I know my craft. Lois, we say that all the time.
Now, I have to say this. Gloria is the one who came up with that, because we were in rehearsal and we were having a debate, and she said, I know my craft. So there we go.
And that's what I say all the time. So thank you, Gloria, because I still say that to this day. I'm like, I know my craft. So anyway, thank you, everybody. Yeah, thank you, everybody, for joining. We're going to sign off because I don't want people to be like, when are they leaving? So thanks again, everybody. Emerson alumni, we really appreciate you. Eboni, all right. Signing out. You guys hold on.